Welcome to the Hidden History series. In today's episode, we will discuss the English patron saint called Saint George, who represents the English flag. Firstly, St. George's Day is celebrated in Great Britain, but also in many other countries. St. George is always held to be a national symbol for England and the English people, and he is represented as the English flag with the red cross and the white background. But how is this the case when he was actually born over 1,500 miles away in Cappadocia in Turkey? So why is St. George the patron saint to England? And why is St. George's Day celebrated when very few British people actually know about the true history of the English flag and what it effectively represents? Why is St. George portrayed as a Christian knight from the Crusades who slayed a green dragon or a white dragon, when in fact St. George was never a Christian knight, and there are no artifacts, documents or factual narratives which prove St. George slayed a dragon? He also never visited the United Kingdom, or Albion as it was called at that time. The birth name of St. George was Georgius Locritius, and he was apparently born around 270 AD. The father of Georgius Locritius was a Roman centurion known as Gerontius Locritius, and his mother was a Greek maiden called Polychronia, who came from Roman Judea. According to the stories from Greek folklore and Christianity, Georgius Locritius became St. George after he had served as a Roman soldier of the Roman army and went on to become a guard for the Roman emperor called Diocletian, who was nicknamed Jovius. However, Georgius Locritius, or St. George, was sentenced to death for refusing to give up his Christian faith. And then he became one of the most venerated Christian saints and Christian martyrs. St. George was given great respect as a military saint during and after the Crusades had occurred in Levant and Western Asia. But how was it the case when St. George never visited England, and yet he became popular with English kings from 1348 and onwards? This cultural trend happened during the Dark Ages, or the early medieval period. It was not until the reign of King Henry VII from 1485 that St. George became honoured. Once King Henry VIII began his reign from 1509, the St. George flag was used to then represent England as a country. In the Greek hagiography, which were the writings of the lives of the saints, St. George became one of the 14 holy helpers and is celebrated on the 23rd of April every 12 months. Historically, St. George is the patron saint of England, Portugal, Catalonia in Spain, the Maltese Republic, Bosnia, Georgia, Bulgaria, Ukraine and Moscow. Additionally, Palestine, Greece and Lithuania have claimed St. George as their patron saint. Therefore, St. George is not just the patron saint of England. The Church of St. George at Lydia in the central district of Israel stores a Christian coffin which is spiritually believed to contain the skeletal remains of St. George. Every aspect of the church chronology that was written about in the 4th century contributed to the legend of St. George, but without naming him or providing significant details about his life. The work of the historians such as the Flemish Jesuit hagiographer called Daniel Paperbrock, the Flemish Jesuit priest called John Bolland, and the Spanish-Dutch Jesuit called Godfrey Henschen of the Bollandists Society of the 17th century initiated the researches that clarified the narrative of the St. George hagiography. This was accomplished by the use of the Greek Sacred Writing Library, or Greek hagiographic library that was published by the Bollandists, who were the Jesuit priests that studied Christian saints in the Roman Catholic Church. The books known as the Greek Sacred Writing Library or the Greek Hagiographic Library were published on the 30th of April 1895 and the 17th of February 1909. It was the Catholic Bishop of Rome who most knew as Pope Gelasius I from the 1st of March 492 AD to his death on the 19th of November 496 AD, who stated in 494 AD that St. George was a profoundly exceptional Christian saint. In the stories from Greek folklore, Georgius Lucretius was born to Christian nobles in Cappadocia in Turkey. His father was a Roman centurion called Diocletian. His mother, a Greek maiden called Polychronia, was actually from Syria, Palestina, or Roman Palestine at that time. She returned with Georgius Lucretius, or St. George, to her hometown. He went on to become a soldier for the Roman army, but because of his religious beliefs in Christianity, Georgius Lucretius was arrested and brutally interrogated in Roman Palestine, which is now in the present day the Central District of Israel. Just 24 hours later, Georgius Lucretius was paraded among the crowds and then beheaded on the 23rd of April 303 AD. His body was buried in Syria, Palestina, or Roman Palestine. After this happened, Western Christians and Eastern Christians soon came to honour St. George as a Christian martyr. St. George is often depicted as the somewhat familiar Christian crusader in armour who often carries a holy lance tipped by a Christian cross. St. George is sometimes portrayed as riding a white horse whilst he is slaying a green dragon. But how did the dragon become linked with St. George when the event never actually happened? The historical distortions about this connection are incredibly bizarre when we look at the modern age and how we have been conditioned to believe in St. George and the dragon. Very few individuals are aware of what they are celebrating on St. George's Day. The festivities of St. George's Day took on less significance when England unified with Scotland in 1707 to establish the United Kingdom of Great Britain. This is why St. George's Day is no longer marked as a national holiday in the United Kingdom. Such changes were brought into actuality with the Acts of Union that were the Acts of Parliament, comprised of the Union Scotland Act in 1706, which the Houses of Parliament in Westminster effectively passed, and the Union with the England Act in 1707, that was passed by the Parliament of Scotland in Edinburgh. Both the Acts of Union put into effect the terms of the Treaty of Union, which had been agreed on the 22nd of July 1706. On the 16th of January 1707, the Acts of Union were given royal assent by King William III, and on the 1st of May 1707, the Acts of Union effectively commenced. Although we have accepted that St. George is the patron saint of England, should we not instead be raising the white dragon flag of the Anglo-Saxon king, St. Edmund, on November the 20th? Because it's actually St. Edmund who succeeded to the Mercian throne of the Anglo-Saxon East Anglia in 856 AD. Brought up as a Roman Catholic Christian, he fought alongside King Alfred Cerdic against the Viking pagans and Norse pagans of the Viking Great Army. He was then defeated and King Edmund was captured by the Vikings. He was ordered to renounce his Christian faith and share rulership with the Viking pagans and Norse pagans, but he refused. King Edmund of East Anglia and Edmund the Martyr was the East Anglian king who became the initial patron saint of England when he was executed in 869 AD by the Great Heathen Army that was also known as the Viking Great Army. Therefore, should the white dragon flag of the East Anglian king, called Saint Edmund, be honoured every 12 months on the 20th of November? Should there be a Saint Edmund's Day in England? We can look at the historical narratives and either believe what we are told or actually do our own research. Because once you research the past, the actual truth becomes clearer, and the distortions and confusion become very apparent. Such distortions have to some extent defined who and what we are as a culture. But what is culture? What is our true heritage? St. George was certainly not an Englishman, and he never visited Britain or England. But some English people have become so attached to the fictional narratives of St. George and then complain when St. George's Day cannot be celebrated. So it is only our lack of knowledge and understanding that has created this cultural inversion. The Dark Ages, or the early medieval period, were a time of so much manipulation, repurposing and the alteration of documents and records. Therefore, how do we know what is true? It is only our own egoic thinking which restricts our true connection. So we do not make the effort to understand these facts. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next week.